Last week, we talked about the possibility of a Kuminga for Josh Giddey sign and trade between the Warriors and Bulls. But apparently, the Bulls have no interest in trading Josh Giddey, and they see him as part of the long-term future for the Bulls. They just have to figure out the price. And when you look at the restricted free agent standoff with this handful of players, I think that that's the separator with Giddey and the Bulls, at least optically what they're putting out there. They feel like, hey, no, we just got to work out a number. You're going to be a part of this, where I think we all understand Kuminga, the Warriors, the bridges have been burned. And Kuminga nor the organization see a future long term. They got to figure out something in the now to make it work until he can be traded. And in that similar vein, you have Cam Thomas in Brooklyn. Now, a lot of you may not be as familiar with Cam Thomas as you were with Josh Giddey, who, was on the Thunder and a higher draft pick, but Cam Thomas, who's been buried in Brooklyn, same draft class, put up 23, 3, and 3 last year for the Nets. 6'4", 210 pounds, 23 years old. Now, the shooting splits, 43, 34, and 88. The efficiency is the issue, along with some other things. But much like the Kuminga situation, Cam Thomas and the Nets, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a future moving forward. Like they just got to figure a way for him to get somewhere else. It feels like the bridges have been burned between those two as well. One of the many amazing qualities in owning a dog is they're going to love you regardless, right? But that also means that it's up to you to make sure they're healthy and happy. They're not going to tell you about it. They're just going to love you. You could feed a dog kibble, sure, even though you know it's not what's best for them. And that's where the farmer's dog, I think, can help a lot of people. It's a service for dog lovers to help improve their lives through a healthy diet. And you hop on the website, you fill out a quick survey, with your dog's name, weight, age, breed, and it's going to give you fresh food that's uniquely pre-portioned for your specific dog. It's suitable for dogs at all stages. We got Jordan, our older big dog, make sure that she maintains a healthy weight. Charlie, our little pup, make sure he's eating enough. And it's all made with human grade food. It's not about fancy this and that. It's about quality, portion control, and simplicity and peace of mind, knowing that your dogs are getting what they want and they're happy. And so right now, you can get 50% off your first box of freshly made healthy dog food by using my link. Plus, you get free shipping and 24/7 customer support. So click the link in the description or scan the QR code now. But let me give you a little background on who Cam Thomas is. He went to the Oak Hill Academy, where he was paired in the backcourt with Cole Anthony. You imagine playing that backcourt in high school? You want to talk about worried about getting embarrassed, getting lit up, right? So after that, he moves on to LSU, where he led the SEC in scoring as a freshman. And he's a bucket, man. He's a bucket. We'll get to his game here. But what happened was that draft class, he slid all the way to the 27th pick. You say, well, he led the country in scoring for most of the year. Like, why wasn't he a higher pick? I think that there were several reasons. One, the view that he's, kind of a ball hog. He just wants to get up shots. He doesn't do it super efficiently. And then his personality. If you look at Cam Thomas interviews, first off, ain't shit funny. Ain't shit funny. Go look that one up. He's kind of, who he kind of reminds me of is Kawhi. He's very quiet, soft-spoken, just awkward. And I imagine when he was brought in for workouts with teams, they were uncomfortable with his personality and his awkwardness. And you combine that with, a volume scorer at 6'4", and that would explain why he slid all the way to 27 with the Brooklyn Nets. Mind you, this is when they had KD, Kyrie, Harden, right? And even with those three guys on the team, when Cam would get out on the floor, he was putting them up. He was getting buckets, right? But I think that when you look at his shooting splits, there's a difference, right? Like Draymond, I'll use Draymond as an example because why not, right? But it's let's say Draymond shot 34% from three. Well, if you watch the games, you understand dang, all of them were open good shots. So that kind of speaks he's not really a shooter, right? Cam Thomas is a shooter that shoots bad shots. In fact, he's such a good shooter, He takes terrible shots at times because he can make them, right? And so the question would be, if you put him in a more organized, efficient system like the Warriors, how much more efficient could he be, right? If 3 or 4 of his shots a game were wide open looks, those splits would probably look a lot better. Now, because of this new collective bargaining agreement and the way the league is headed, I do think we are headed back towards real role players. You look at the NBA Finals, TJ McConnell, Lou Dort, Hartenstein, right? Guys that are like legit, they're good and they're a big part of the team, right? But they're like, they have their role and that's it. And I think we're headed back in that direction because of how difficult it is going to be to construct a team, financially speaking. In that same breath, I'd seen a video a week or two ago about how the combo scoring guard archetype is dying. It's no longer wanted in the NBA. It's no longer as valued, in part because of the CBA and how much those guys typically get paid. And Cam Thomas is that, right? The dilemma is he a six man or is he a starter? He's such a good six man. He's going to always feel like he should be starting. And now that's where, the team, the coaches, and he would butt heads, and paying him would probably go a long way. And look, Jordan Clarkson, Malik Monk, right? He's of that archetype. But what I would say is his mentality is on another level. It's on another level of where it doesn't matter who's on the floor or what the situation is. His level of unconscious shooting and scoring, it's special, right? And then if you want to talk about like mechanically how he gets it done on the court, he's a power guard who plays off 2 feet. And his superpower, if you will, is the ability to always square up into his shot, no matter which direction he's heading or how much contact there is, because he's got a big tank body. He can draw contact. He can be moving downhill. He's going to plant off the 2 feet, and he's going to rise up, square up, and get a relatively clean look. You know who he reminds me of is Ben Gordon. You remember Ben Gordon for the Bulls, right? It's a very similar player. That 2-footed, that power 2-footed, undersized guard who can just get to his jump shot at any time on the floor. And it's a gift and a curse. There is why you see the efficiency issues, because he can get to it whenever he wants. And then you combine that with him playing on this Brooklyn team that who knows what they've been doing, right? But ever since they broke up KD and Kyrie, they've kind of been directionless. And so that's probably encouraged the inefficiency in the shot chucking from Cam Thomas, because he looks around, he's like, who else is going to do it, right? So I don't think the inefficiency necessarily means that that's who he has to be in another setting. And I do think that, his mentality is special. There's a lot of undersized guys that, given the opportunity, can get buckets, right? But I'm telling you, his is on a different level. And so, look, I'm not sitting here and saying that this is a solution and this is a move that makes the Warriors better, but we can all agree at this point, it's kind of like, hey, this just has to be figured out. Even if it's a sidestep, some sort of step has to be taken here. And in Brooklyn, Kuminga went to high school in New Jersey. He's long, I think, been interested in playing in that area. And you want to talk about getting the keys and the opportunity. I think it would be a great spot for Kuminga to spread his wings. You bring Cam Thomas in as the Jordan Poole replacement, right? He's not as creative with the ball as Poole, which can be a good and a bad thing, right? But, do you bring him in as the sixth man, as the scoring punch off the bench, or do you start him right next to Steph? I'll say this defensively. While I'm not saying he's a plus defender, when you talk about the archetype of the combo scoring guard, I think that he physically can defend better than some of these guys. A lot of these guys could if they wanted to. Ant Simons, and they're so athletic. If you wanted to defend, you could, right? But I'm not ready to write him off as a defender. We haven't seen him play in a winning environment. So you can hold that against him, but I think it also opens up the potential for him to be more efficient, more dialed in, and he's so physically strong. I don't see why he couldn't hold his own defensively. But lack of communication, kind of an awkward personality, right? And, we're getting smaller, right? You're trading a 6'8" Jonathan Kuminga for a 6'4" combo guard, but and it's really kind of the same situation. He's a guy that wants to go ISO score like Kuminga. Would he fit into the system? but he is a guard, right? He is a guard. And I think what he would do is instantly take a ton of pressure off Steph to create shots. He would be, I'm trying to think here, who would be, I guess I'll give Poole that credit. You know, I don't like to, but he would be our best shot creator since like Poole, not the punch year, the year before, right? The year that got him paid, the 22 championship year. And how much pressure that would take off a 38-year-old Steph Curry is huge. But again, you're trading problems here. I'm not saying it's an ideal thing. It's more so of like, hey, they need to figure something out here so we can get this Al Horford signing done or this DeAnthony Melton signing done. And then what would the asset be moving forward? I don't know how I even feel about this, but I had seen several people in the comments of the Giddey video saying, no, we want Cam Thomas, not Giddey. He's certainly a sexier player. When meaning like just aesthetically a flashy bucket getter. But you know, if Kerr was upset at Kuminga for looking Steph off, Cam Thomas might tell him to clear out, get out, right? But it is different in the sense of he can be on the ball and he is a guard, and he would fit obviously better with Jimmy and Draymond. It doesn't bog down that front court thing. But personality-wise, he's a different cat, man. He's a different cat. Kind of, again, I'll use the Kawhi comparison. But what do y'all think? If that was the realm of possibility, I think it would be great for Kuminga. I don't know how it would work for the Warriors. But again, back to my concern is something. Listen, Kuminga, if you're going to take the qualifying offer, do it. Shit or get off the pot, right? Like at this point here, when nothing else is going to happen. So the two questions I have for y'all in this video is, how would you feel about a Cam for Kuminga swap? And if that's not going to happen, do you offer Kuminga a third year or give him a player option instead of a team option on the second year of the rumored deal? Or do you just let him sign the qualifying? And it's been brought to my attention, under the qualifying offer, you can't trade him. So that means he's just, how ugly could that get though? He's just going to sit on the end of, are they going to bench him? I think the qualifying offer would be madness for both sides. I think they have to avoid that at all cost. And so if the Warriors aren't willing to bend on the option or the years, are they willing to consider Cam Thomas? Quentin Grimes, I like him better than Cam Thomas, but it sounds like the Sixers, who knows? Daryl Morey, do you think he's going to trade with the Warriors? I don't think so, man. But what I do know is this needs to happen because back to Al Horford. We all know that that's the rumor. He's supposed to be waiting for this deal to get done to sign, or he may just retire. And at some point here, as we get towards training camp, what if the news breaks, Al Horford decides he's retiring? Kuminga won't sign the qualifying. They won't change the option. And I was like, you know what, man, like I'm good. That would be disastrous. And so whether it's JK, putting his money where his mouth is and just signing the qualifying offer, or the Warriors, bending with this team option thing, something needs to happen here, I think, at least by the end of August, or there's a threat that Melton, Horford, and these other options that seem to be already in place could retire or go elsewhere, and then we'll be out of Kuminga and what we were trying to build this season. That would be... that would be disastrous, right? But anyway, let me know what y'all think about Cam Thomas. And ultimately, are you giving Kuminga a third year? Or I don't see why not. At this point, if I'm the Warriors, how much of this is pride? I know I'm rambling here a little bit, but with feelings hurt and negotiations, like don't get it twisted. There's ego and pride on the line in the negotiations. And so has it gotten to a point now where neither side wants to budge? Even if like, objectively, logistically, they're like, I would, but I ain't. You know what? You've made this, you've taken this too far. We ain't budging. Because that's how a lot of stuff stalls out when it comes to negotiating. And that seems like where we're at with this Kuminga Warriors thing. Anyway, Valkyrie play tonight. Y'all check that out. They're making a playoff push. They're super fun. And hopefully, this weekend, Friday, something will happen. I'm not holding my breath. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.